Right. All right. My name is Shuah. I'm the TSC chair for the ELISA project. And it has been a great session, hasn't been? I learned a lot in this session. Let's kick off our wrap up and then also next quarter. We always end our workshops with setting goals for our next quarter. Okay. Thank you for participating in our workshop. Also, we have a survey out that helps us improve our workshops, and it only takes about 5 minutes, and it's anonymous. So please go ahead and fill the survey out, and you can also select in the graphic shows, you can say smiley faces, you can select, give feedback for individual sessions so that we can, when we do our next workshop, hopefully in person, we'll have the ability to tailor the sessions and topics based on that feedback. We have had 134 registered this time, and it's down from 158. I think that it's probably we are going through this overload of virtual workshops. It's still continuing. We have had 35 to 40 average attendees per session, and not sure if this is updated from the last session, but we will get you. We will plan to provide updated stats, which we don't have. Some of them we don't have yet, in a form of a blog that we plan to publish. Recap of sessions. We have had safety monitors inside the kernel. This is a continuing theme for us, bringing several parallel efforts together. You will see that as we go through, and we have a RAFIA, STPA, and also effort from Daniel Bristart and Gabriel Poloni from Red Hat that they are pursuing adding safety monitors inside the kernel. There is a RFC patch that's in progress right now, and we hope to have the monitors inside the kernel helping us assess safety and monitor how the system is working. So I hope you attended that session. And then we have had a good discussion on whether we have room for industrial IoT working group within ELISA. And we walked away from saying, yes, we are interested. We will be, we'll have to research the use cases and so on. Let's see, not to mention the keynote that we have had on software supply chain. That was very informative in terms of from Robert Martin. Hazard analysis, you'll see several and integrity in safety applications, and then RAFIA approach. And then yesterday we concluded the session day with a working session on Linux configurations used in safety systems. And in diverse instances, we also touched on cloud space as well. Today, we have had two working sessions, mixed criticality. I walked away myself with several things to think about for the next quarter from the TSC perspective, and then also other working groups. Okay, so we now let's get into talking about goals setting. We're continuing to define strategy, technical strategy. That is the ongoing thing we have been doing. And every quarter we revisit what's working, what's not, and then we add new things. And we are also working, refining, executing on the technical strategy in working groups. And we are continuing to look at publication strategy. And we currently have automotive and medical use cases in scope. And we have had a good discussion, like I said, I mentioned, on industrial, to adding industrial. I think it makes sense for us to add that. And we'll be looking into that this quarter. There is a white paper that up on the website. You can take a look. from my takeaways, sitting in the various working sessions and talks and presentations, that we are continuing to harmonize, coordinate for success, various parallel efforts and approaches in safeties. RAFIA, STPA, safety monitors inside the kernel sessions are indicators of that. We are also exploring new areas. We do have to bring in a industrial use case, identify what works the best for us in terms of evaluating open source based use case. And we'll have to do research on that and figure out what works best for us. Another thing that came in is maybe we could have more collaboration between automotive and medical working groups, collaborating efforts on the STPA and tracing work that's happening in the medical working group, and then also automotive telltale work that's happening. And we have continuing to do research on and document kernel configurations. It's been ongoing work, and we're also looking at how can we give information to system integrators on various configurations and make a recommendation on whether that configuration should be enabled or disabled and so on, why, and pros and cons of doing that. That work is happening. And then the new, we have been talking about the mixed criticality, but I think it's very clear after the working session today that we have to understand the right balance between availability, safety, and reliability, and the intersection between that. And we might have to start focusing on looking at that more closely, either under TSC or under other working groups. And then also understanding interference between how different OS functionalities work and how can we minimize the interference surface. So these, at least my takeaways from this session, and I think that it is worth looking at. And I do think that we have to pay attention to this for sure, more of a focus next quarter. Publishing, we will publish a blog summarizing our goal setting discussion. We have realized sometimes we go from working group workshop, and then we start executing on our goals, and we I think it's important for us to communicate what we have decided and what we are working on. So we'll be doing that after this workshop. We are also looking at, as under the publication strategy, we're also looking to see to expedite the process of publishing our results. We're looking into adding a working group content coordinator. I won't go into too much detail into this. We probably do not have time to discuss this at in this goal setting. I'll come back to it if we have time, but we'll be picking this up in a TSC meeting. Just so you know, this is coming. Philip, would you like to talk through automotive working group and your takeaways?
Yeah, so we'll definitely continue our STPA analysis. We saw a very good session on the general work presented by Chris and Paul. We need to see that we get work done and map it to practical use case. We're discussing about using Raspberry Pi or a similar physical device to just put the demo in there and see how we make use with AGL. Yeah, you already mentioned the alignment with medical device work group for the STPA work. And when we work in our demo, we also try to fit it more to the use case itself, so that we trim down the things which are not of essential use. And also we saw in the last session, we just need to have a stronger outreach. So we also should figure out that there is someone who has interest in the work we're doing from a stronger perspective on OEM. So we will go through events and so on, try to make our work public and see if we can attract new members. So that will be our goals for the next quarter.
Thank you, Philip. Kate, would you like to speak?
Sure.
To...
So what we're doing in the medical device working group, the next goal is we're going to try to finish off the analysis of into the level 3, which is where the kernel's interacting with the system, and getting the interactions mapped out clearly. We've been Shuah and Milan, and we have a summer mentee Cervamenti working with us now to get the kernel tracing studies. So the methodology we come up with for doing this, we'll probably be doing a write-up of it so that we can recommend to others when they're trying to understand the interfaces and the boundaries. Here's a potential methodology to apply. The formal level 3 analysis, once that those interactions are identified, we'll get the model, we'll get the analysis finished off and get it out to the external stakeholders for review and clarify the requirements. This will actually probably start to touch into requirements on the Linux kernel, which in light of the discussions earlier this morning about how we start looking for patterns and interfaces of usage of Linux might become interesting. The other thing we'll be doing this quarter is probably, or this quarter into next quarter is actually publishing the analysis. Jeffra is working with us right now to look at the documentation we've already been generating and help us try to figure out how to structure it into a more effective report. We're also going to do work with the automotive STPA analysis and see if we can come up with some common ways of representing this information. And then this will all become, as soon as we have something that the group is happy with, we'll be submitting into the TSC for review.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. Gab, would you like to speak to the software architecture working group?
Right. Yes. So, so the next goal for the software architecture working group is to continue, improving the core tree tool with the functionalities that are required to produce a kernel FFI argumentation on the telltale use case, and also we need to start creating a kernel FFI for communication interference, and in this regard also investigate the role of Kazan and UBSAN to mitigate spatial interference. With respect to the user space freedom from interference, we will likely leverage the outcome of the technical investigation and analysis that we are doing respectively in the OSCP and Linux feature for safety critical system working groups, those that were started about the integrity of user mode and kernel mode address space. Okay. And also we will start evaluating the contribution of the runtime verification monitor in for the watchdog subsystem. And for doing so, I need to decide whether I should wait for the RFC to be accepted or to start it prior to that. But okay, so these are anyway the next steps from our side.
This sounds good. Especially, I'm glad to see Ksan and Afsan are coming in. And will you be doing KMSAN as well, or that's kind of one more thing to add, or you're kind of thinking Ksan and Afsan will be good for looking at spatial interference?
So I mean, yeah, the Kazan and UBSAN, these were already some tools that were used by Mobileye for their freedom from interference claim, and that we presented also in previous workshops. So now the idea is to start evaluating both of them and see what is the contribution with respect in the context of the telltale. Right?
Great.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you. OSAP, Open Source Engineering Class Working Group. Paul, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah. I've kind of summarized sort of some of the questions that we're kind of going to try to answer. So we're going to be continuing to look at doing some of the SDPA analysis on the stack memory and building on the dynamic memory analysis that the Huawei guys have done. Looking at also the address space integrity documentation that we've been discussing in the LFSCS group as well. But mainly what I kind of the focus of that is going to be, can we actually use the RAFIA approach, which is kind of using STPA and then automated testing and fault injection as a basis for kind of satisfying the overall TSC goal about providing some meta level instruction for safety analysis. Should we be applying that STPA analysis to generic operating system features, or looking at systems, so concrete use cases like the Telltale, and how can we use that to provide the sort of equivalent confidence to the existing approaches that we see in the standards. I also want to collaborate with other working groups around how we actually manage the contributions towards these sort of investigations, and how we kind of publish the results. The automated working group has some documentation for how people should make contributions in GitHub. So I think it'd be quite useful to kind of formalize that as a way that all the working groups operate, and similarly how we actually publish some of our content. So I've been working with Ilana on that for looking at the kernel config database and how we might publish that in a GitHub repo, and similarly I'll be talking to Kate about how the medical devices group might publish their work in a similar way. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, I like that demo.
I like the, yes. I really, yes, I didn't get a chance to play with it yet, but that's awesome. That is kernel. If we can find a way to represent kernel configurations database, I think we have problem solved. That's a complex one. All right. So Ilana, will you be able to speak quickly to this one?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Paul, for helping that. And so following up on what he said, that Paul, that we'll continue to work on refining. There's a lot of content there, but that has to be presented and workable for others to contribute as well. So thank you to Paul for taking that forward. I think that was one major step towards publication. We're also continuing with other aspects, technical investigations related to memory management, different aspects. And what's interesting about this work is we're starting to figure out a little bit better how we work together as a project between the different working groups, taking our technical understanding and the deep dive into the technical details and bringing that together with the safety investigation and implications from the OSIP group and the safety architecture group. So there's a lot of interesting ideas in store there, and we hope to take that forward. Also playing around here, this is just new, but bringing in additional business partners who have an interest, who can provide us with the broader picture, the understanding of what's needed in practice, and to align the system users with the safety mindset, context, and how we can work together to produce viable solutions. So I think that's an interesting area, which is I hope to continue with that. Okay, and I'm working on 2 mentorship projects in parallel, but the important elements there are, again, to understand how different technical aspects of Linux, how we can understand what exists, what doesn't exist, what can be done, what should be done, and working together with other work groups to build the bigger picture. So we want to continue with this. We're a pretty new working group, but I'm quite pleased with how things have, begun to get organized in this quarter, and we hope to continue in the next quarter. So that's it for me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ilana. Do we have Milan here?
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to this, Milan?
Yeah, I'll deliver this update. It's come from discussions with Lucas, Sudeep, and then here in the group meeting. But yeah, we're looking to do more work on syscaller testing to detect what can cause things like memory leaks in the kernel, and we're hoping to report more issues for that. And we're going to keep going with our work on code checker and send patches and raise issues for developers. And yeah, we're also looking to collaborate with the open source engineering process group, as has been mentioned earlier, and work on providing a test environment, and hoping to send more patches upstream to code checker itself as well this quarter. We've got one or two that are ready to that we've identified. And then we're going to carry on going through kernel documentation and try and get sending documentation patches again. And then we're also for sure interested to work with any other working groups and any kernel newcomers too. There's space for that. And also open to anyone coming along and attending the meetings as well. And yeah, still open. But they're the goals that we've outlined.
Thank you, Milan. We have probably a couple of minutes for any working group questions from working group leads for another working group, or any observations on the workshop itself.
Just one remark. As you were unsure at the beginning, I checked the minutes for the session, and it was on the first day where we had the most participants. It was on the second session. Where is it? Safety monitors inside the kernel. There's 57, I guess.
Terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed we had a lot of participants for the first working group session we had about
Yeah.
cyclicality. That was a very well attended, fresh in my head because it happened this morning. But that's great. So we'll continue this discussion. We won't, this is not stopping the discussion. We'll be continuing in our working group meetings and TSC meetings and so on. And please get involved in working workshops. Between workshops, just engage with us in the weekly calls, contribute content. You can check all of the mailing lists that we have. You can engage with us on all these forums. Here is the survey link again. Any last questions or suggestions? And please help fill this survey out.
Oops, that link has to be updated there.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Oh yeah,
go back to the first page. The link's
Okay.
actually there, and I put it in the chat for people. So
Okay.
anyone who's here in this, will be mailing that out. But anyone who's sitting here, just maybe take 5 minutes and fill it in for us so that we've got some data.
Yes.
As to what works.
Yeah. Take the one from the chat. We'll update this one.
Yeah. Okay.
So last note, thank you for ELISA members, and then thank you for great participation. And working sessions have been awesome this time. I learned a lot. And without our members, we won't be able to do what we do. Here are thank you to all our members and their support. And thank you all for joining the workshop, and hope to see you in person next workshop. I hope, fingers crossed. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.